Breaking news this morning. The Broncos have relieved Nathaniel Hackett of his head coaching duties. And hallelujah, Hackett's a good guy and all, but let's be honest. From the get-go, it was obvious he was not cut out to be an NFL head coach. And losing on Christmas Day in an absolute bloodbath of a massacre, giving up a 50-burger to Baker Mayfield and the Rams, while a fight is breaking out on your sideline, clearly was just the last straw for this ownership and George Payton, and they pulled the plug with 2 weeks left on the season and have relieved Hackett of his duties. The news was first broke by Tom Pelissero tweeting out the Broncos fired Nathaniel Hackett, and I, for one, am ecstatic. I mean, you never talk about a man's job, and it's a little bit crude to celebrate someone getting fired, but at the same time, this fan base, this franchise is way too proud to be this bad right now, right? To be on a 7-year playoff drought, to be going on to their 6th head coach in 8 seasons in 2023. Only 1 winning season since the Super Bowl, or not even then. I mean, it has just gotten way too bad. Now, the Broncos themselves released a statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. We're not going to do any popcorn reading. But there was one little bit that I thought really jumped out to me. And so did Eric Delilah, who covers the team, who tweeted out a quote saying, "I will lead our head coaching search." Now, this is Walton Penner, right? This is the Walton Penner ownership here. "With support from our ownership group and George, whom I have confidence in as our general manager." So if you were wondering if George Payton is also going to get the axe, this says to me George Payton is safe, but this next head coaching hire, which it seems like Payton's not going to be leading the charge on, right? It's going to be Rob Walton and the Penner ownership group who will take control of this head coaching hire. If this head coaching hire does not go swimmingly well early on, George Payton might be the next one to go, which is a bummer because I think he's a great GM. He just made 2 catastrophic mistakes, right? Worse than invading Russia in the winter. He hired Nathaniel Hackett, and he traded for Russell Wilson. Now, pretty much all 32 GMs would have made that trade for Russ most likely. So I don't think anyone's going to really hold that too much against him. But the Hackett hire, that's going to go down as one of the worst head coaching hires. I mean, first off, when was the last time a first-year head coach got fired in their first season before Urban Meyer? And Urban Meyer was fired not because he was just bad. He was just, an imbecile. Before that, you got to go back to like the 70s. It's been a long time to realize, wow, do we make a mistake and we have to rectify this before this first season is even up. Now, I want to ask this question to you all. We're going to get to more quotes and I got some more takes and whatnot, but I need to know what your one-word reaction to Hackett being fired is. I'm going to go hallelujah, and I can't even spell it, but I want to know your one-word reaction to Hackett being fired. I just want to say one more time, Hackett, nice guy, cool dude, would love to get a beer with him. Don't want him to be my NFL head coach, right? That was pretty apparent. I mean, I got some notes and whatnot here. It was obvious to me from the get-go, right? Week 1, trotting out Brandon McManus for a 64-yard field goal on 4th and short with Russell Wilson at quarterback. At the time, Russ was playing decently well in that Seahawks game too. Wouldn't you think you'd go for it with Russell Wilson since you traded heaven and earth to get for him? No. So that right there was a big, oh shit. I think this coach might be awful, right? And then it just looked worse and worse and worse as the seasons progressed. In Hackett's defense, definitely didn't help the amount of primetime games that magnify the issues going on in Denver and the injuries. I mean, the guy did get gutted across the board on offense and defense. Loses his left tackle. Loses his 2 top edge rushers in Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb. The leader of his defense, Justin Simmons, goes on IR after the first week. Loses Tim Patrick before week 1. Loses Javonte Williams. Like, the list goes on and on. But ultimately, he was in the deep end from the start, and the guy was just treading water, just trying to stay afloat, and losing to the Rams and having Dalton Reisner yelling at Brett Rippon on the sideline, saying, was it? Come and get it, Rip? Come and get it. It was just embarrassing, and it was on full display for the entire country on Christmas Day. And the new ownership decided, this is enough. This is embarrassing. We're going to make a change anyway. We're going to make it right now. Now listen, we break down all Broncos news and rumors here at the channel. We're hitting the news right now, and the rumors are coming, and they're all going to be about who Hackett is going to be replaced by. So subscribe to the channel today so you don't miss out on any Hackett replacements videos. We're going to be rolling out pretty much day by day until they make a decision, just the latest buzz out there. So hit that big red button and subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, hit me with the Broncos country. Let's get a new head coach today. All right, I have some early replacements I want to hit on. So this is a list of 10 names just to keep an eye on. It's a mixture of what I would like to see happen and what I'm hearing across the league right now and the buzz. Frank Reich, I think, would be a phenomenal hire. I'll get to more on him in a second. The former Colts head coach. Dan Quinn, the DC in Dallas. He's been doing great things. Of course, he was with the Falcons, 28-3. DeMeco Ryans, the DC with the Niners, he's been getting a lot of buzz. Then there's Sean Payton. We'll talk more about him in a second, the former Saints head coach. You have your own internal option, Evero, the DC, who could be a great option and hire. Probably a bit early, though, right? I think it's a bit premature to go that direction. Shane Steichen, he's the OC in Philly. He's sort of like Kellen Moore last year, maybe even Hackett, of like up-and-coming offensive coordinator at a really good team. Seems to me like it might just be a carbon copy of the Hackett hire, though. Leslie Frazier, former Vikings head coach. He's been the DC with Buffalo a while. I think he's just probably a little bit past his time. He's been getting a lot of buzz. I ultimately would pass on him, though. Could be a great coach, but I'd rather go a different direction. Ben Johnson, that's the OC for Detroit. He's making Jared Goff look like the Lions may have won that trade with Matthew Stafford despite not getting a Super Bowl. So that's definitely tossed his name into the mix. Then there's Shane Waldron. This is the offensive coordinator in Seattle. He kind of got the best out of Russ. Might Denver decide, hey, we're tied to Russell Wilson. We need to maximize Russell Wilson while he's here under contract. How about we get someone who's worked with him before, who has a proven record of making Russ look like a potential MVP quarterback? That would be his old OC. And then there's Kellen Moore, who's just kind of the hot, young, next potential Sean McVay. He's sort of kind of come down to earth a little bit compared to last head coaching cycle, but Kellen Moore is definitely a name to keep an eye on. But let's talk about Sean Payton. Sean Payton is definitely the hottest, the biggest buzz name right now of the bunch. And Walton Penner, ownership group, you give him a blank check, right? You write a blank check for Sean Payton, and whatever it takes to get him to Denver, you make it happen. Because although maybe Shane Waldron could get the best out of Russ, I'm willing to wager, not my own money, but Walton Penner's money, that Sean Payton would absolutely be the best get for Denver. Now, does Sean Payton want to come to the Broncos? He has been rumored to be interested in a couple jobs like the Cowboys or like the Chargers. Well, what if those jobs don't open up? What if the Cowboys win a playoff game and they keep Mike McCarthy, right? What if Brandon Staley gets the Chargers to the playoffs and they win a playoff game and they hold on to him? Maybe the Broncos become one of the more attractive destinations over the Carolina Panthers or the Houston Texans. Now, Adam Schefter on Christmas Eve tweeted this out, and it's got some juiciness to it. Sean Payton is so interested in returning to coaching in the NFL that he's already putting together an all-star staff that includes former Broncos head coach Vic Fangio as his potential DC. This is the hiccup we run into. If Sean Payton is adamant on, I want to have what is the best defensive coordinator, in my opinion, on the market, Vic Fangio, I don't see Fangio, especially after some of the words I said last year, wanting to come back to the Broncos. So maybe if Sean Payton gets a blank check from the Broncos and it's, you can bring Fangio if he agrees, but if not, we still want you with or without him. Maybe Sean Payton decides, you know what, money talks. I'm sorry, Vicathy. That's why I called him last year, by the way, when I got mad at him. We're going to have to go a different direction at DC because I'm going to Denver. And if you don't want to come, I understand, but I can't turn down a blank check. Ultimately, Frank Reich is my number one candidate in terms of realistic-ish options, right? Sean Payton is awesome. I would love to get Sean Payton. To me, that doesn't seem all that likely. So of the actual realistic options out there, Frank Reich, I think, would be a fantastic hire for a couple of reasons. One, he's got head coaching experience. This has to be a head coach that's done it before and is not learning what it's like to be a head coach for the first time. Two, he was really good with the Colts. He finished with an above 500 record. He got fired because his GM gave him a different week 1 starting quarterback every single season he was there. He had no continuity. I'll promise you this much, Russell Wilson will be his quarterback for at least the next 2 seasons. So we can at least start to put something down that's a little bit more permanent and not so year to year at the most important position in sports. We're going to talk about Russell Wilson in just a moment, but BetUS, our sportsbook partner, they've got a great deal for Broncos country. When you go to chatsports.com/bet and you enter promo code Broncos125, they will hook you up with a 125% deposit bonus. Now, BetUS is going to be one of the first sports books out there to start rolling out odds on who the next head coach for Denver will be. So if you got a good feeling on where this ownership group is going to go, make sure you make all of your bets and all of your picks. Do not bet on Denver against Kansas City or the Chargers. That's not what I'm advertising. But bet on who you think might be the next head coach at chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Broncos125. I want to ask this question off the bat, though. Who is your number 1 replacement for the next head coach of the Denver Broncos after Nathaniel Hackett? I gave you a list of my top 10 names. Curious who you got number 1. Of the realistic options, it's Frank Reich. Of the dream list, it's Sean Payton. But I'm kind of putting those 2 things separate. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, before we get on out of here, let's talk about Russell Wilson a little bit. Russell Wilson sucks, right? You got to bench Russ, I think. He was benched against the Rams, and I wish it came earlier, so there was a bigger statement. Because it came so late, it was almost of a, hey, we're just going to sit you down for the last couple of minutes. But Russell Wilson needs to be shut down. Put him on IR so his ego's not hurt, because he does not like that. But let him start rehabbing, getting ready for next season. He has just as many touchdown passes as bathrooms in his record-setting purchase of his home in Denver. So you got to shut down Russell Wilson. Play Brett Rippon. You're going to lose these next 2 games. That's just the cold, hard truth, with or without Russ. So shut him down, in my opinion, and just let him get ready for next season, which they should have done a while ago, which Broncos YouTube channel talked about that like a month ago? Oh, yeah, this one right here. I appreciate all of you guys who clicked on to today's video. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. We give you guys the latest Broncos coverage, and we're going to get you guys up to date on all the news and rumors on who the 6th head coach in the last 8 seasons for the Denver Broncos will be when you subscribe.